Hi, I'm Miro Pasovic. I'm with Payday Loan University. And I'm going to talk to you today about getting started. A lot of our materials that we've been putting out there have really been about existing operators and how to do things better. And a lot of the questions we've been getting on the LinkedIn and the other web discussions have been from people saying, hey, Miro, I just want to get started. I want to start somewhere. So this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how we're going to get started. So let's just do a quick overview, okay? Getting started in the payday world. What are we talking about? We're talking about payday loans, installment loans, and auto title. Now let's go back to payday loans. Payday loans are very simply a small short-term loan with a fee ranging from 10% to 30% depending on the market. Okay. Installment loan is a very similar loan except that instead of being an ongoing forever thing, it has a set start and a set date. So they have a certain amount of interest they pay every week, every 2 weeks, or every month, depending on how it's done. And they also have the auto title loan. Now, it's very interesting is because there's a public perception with this business that we just print money. And that will be true if everybody paid. And here's your first thing. Not everybody pays. No, that doesn't happen at all. Very, very experienced operators have pretty low collection rates, but the default rates are pretty high in this business because they have to be. We're lending money to people that nobody else will lend money to. So let's talk about it. Do you want to go online or storefront? The online world is very glamorous because you can scale up so quickly, so easily, and you can lose your butt really quickly and really, really severely. So the online world, I recommend if you're going to get into it, make sure you have a lot of expertise and a lot of really solid people behind you because it's going to be tough. Storefronts are tough too because you have to set up a physical location, you have staff, you have to secure the money, you have to secure the employees, you have the opportunity for employee theft on hand. Now don't get me wrong, there's a lot of opportunity for employee theft and online as well. But in storefront, you have more of a staff and they're spread out more to watch with. So you have to decide if you want to be storefront or if you want to be online. So that's one of your first questions. The first issue you're going to have is the licensing model. So what do I mean by that? Well, payday loans, auto title lending, and installment loans are all very closely regulated. Every state has its own regulations. There's a couple of different models. If you go with a tribal model, you go into a partnership with an Indian tribe, and they have a sovereign nation exemption, so they can kind of do whatever they want. But there's a lot of court battles back and forth, so that's not a really sure model. If you're in a storefront, you have to comply to the laws of that state. So you can't turn and say, you know what, I'm going to use the Indian tribe model. I'm going to open a payday loan store in Florida and charge 30%. The police will be at your door before you even get the lights on, so don't even bother. So you have to decide what licensing model you want to work on. They all have pros and cons. If you use the tribal model or the sovereign nation model, you have to go into a partnership with an Indian tribe, and those are not that easy to do, and it's not cheap either. Another option is offshore, and offshore means you have to move money in and out of the country, which is also not cheap. So every one of these different options, on one hand, they give you more flexibility, but on the other hand, they add to the cost and complexity of your operations. So the really big guys, most of them work a state-by-state model. So let's talk about something else here. Let's move on to operations model. This is kind of also do with whether you're online or in a storefront. You have to decide how you want to run, how you want to operate your own business, what your structure is going to be. A big mistake that people always assume is I'm going to buy myself a loan management software and that's going to do everything for me. No, all the loan management software is a fancy QuickBooks, okay? It's not going to run your business for you. It's not going to make the decisions for you. It's not going to run your business for you. You have to have the skills and the ability to manage and see what's going on as it happens. Especially in online, any small changes you make to your underwriting or to your process will have a huge waving effect on your default rate. So you're not going to just sit there and say, you know what, I got a bunch of money, I'm going to buy software and it's going to run it for me. No. All the software is going to do is hopefully keep track of what you're doing. The actual business management, that's all on you and you got to do it. Okay? So operations model, you got to make sure you have your management in place and you know what you're doing. Capital requirements. This is one I hear a lot. We had a guy on one of the message boards say that he had $10,000 he wanted to use to open a payday loan store, and that's not going to cut it. So let's talk a little bit what the capital requirements are. To set up an online operation, you need about $100,000 just to start, to get your website, software, your deposits for your ACH, just to get started, you need about $100,000. You also need about another $500,000 to go on the street. Because one of the things that happens is when you start off either online or in the storefront, most of your first customers will be deadbeats, and you're going to lose so much money, it's just going to pour out. And the only hope you have of staying in the business is getting past that first stage where you're just getting slaughtered on all the bad debt. So you need a lot of capital. How much you need for a store? You can set up a store cheap, maybe $15,000 to get yourself ready, and that's like a 20 by 10 office with a plywood sign basically. Our typical store setup was about $50,000 for lease space. That includes a basic build out, a nice tile, some signage, and basically computer stuff. So to get a store open, you need about $50,000 in cash to get the store open, and you need about $100,000 to $200,000 of capital. But with $100,000, you can get a store started. And like I said, you have to be really, really diligent that this money is going to go fast. We had one operation we helped open up where we just went into an open market. Our message really resonated with people, and we put $60,000 on in the street in like 2 weeks, and it was amazing. But we almost ran out of money. So this is the kind of stuff you really have to think about. Whatever money you think you need to start any business, you need double that. In this particular business, if you're thinking, hey, I got 100 grand, I'm going to open an online company, I'm going to tell you you're completely out of your mind. You're going to lose the 100 grand and you won't even know what happened. So how much money do you have? You better make sure you have a lot. Again, another question I have for how much money you have to work with. Is it your money or is it money you're paying interest on? A lot of what happens is these groups come together and they say, you know what, we're going to make 30% a month return, and we're going to be able to pay our investor, 25-30% a year in interest. That's hard. That is expensive money. Once you're rolling, maybe you can sustain that kind of thing, but off the start, you're going to bleed money. You can use up all your money off the start. I worked on one project where they had the investor was getting 24% a year. A couple of top management had given themselves a fat salary, and the whole project burned through $400,000 in 6 months, and we barely had 100 grand on the street. It was ridiculous. Just so much money was just pouring out of this whole thing. So not only do you have the money, and is the money reasonable? Can you defer some of the interest on it? Can you set up the structure where it makes sense? Because if you bleed the company dry before you gain momentum, you don't have a chance. So, is it enough? Next question is, how deep is your bench? I've been called in as an outside consultant to a couple of, this one project in particular was a lot of fun. They'd hired a very experienced industry person. The person got them set up, got them running, and then got offered a very lucrative job. But that person was the linchpin. They were the key to the whole operation. So when they just woke up one day and said, you know what, I'm gone tomorrow because I got a better job offer, they were scrambling because they had no expertise. So you better make sure you have a team in place, and that your whole operation isn't dependent on one magical person that may get transferred, may get a better job offer, or may get married and move to Timbuktu. You don't know what's going to happen. So if you're putting together a big operation, you better make sure you have more than one person to draw from for your expertise. So let's talk about this. This is a different business with different thinking. Okay, this is very key because a lot of people just think this is a business like anything else. It really isn't. I've had 2-hour-long debates with CPAs about how to do the accounting. This is a fee-based business. Everything is figured as percentages of fees. We're not talking, the asset that you have in this business isn't the dollar amount on the street, because that changes every day. The asset is your good customer base, your base of good customers. Let me give you an example. For a brand new operation that wasn't doing very well, they had $200,000 on the street, and they were like, wow, we have $200,000 on the street. But that $200,000 within 60 days was down to $50,000. Why? Because their underwriting was crappy, their customers were crappy, and this supposed asset on the books wasn't worth anything. Okay? Now, a different operation I work with have been in business for 10 years, very closely managed. They had a portfolio of about $150,000. They were doing auto title loans, and most of these customers were long-term customers. Their returns were unbelievable. Where these other guys were in bankruptcy within 6 months. This guy was making over $800,000 a year on this portfolio. So really, what's the asset? The asset is the established base of solid paying customers, and that's really where the value is. So, next question is, it's not how smart you are, it's how much you can stomach to lose. And this is a tough one. This is something we joke about a lot in the business, because you have to understand, I mean, when you open up a store, the money just pours out, because every scumbag within like a 100-mile radius is going to come knocking on your door and saying, give me $500. And online, it's 10 times worse. So you're just going to see this bleeding of money, and you got to take it, and you got to refine and not give up. And some big, sophisticated business players get into this business and they just die because they can't stomach it. They're like, oh my God, I started with $500,000 and 150 of it is gone in 30 days, and it's gone, and that's just how it works. Until you build up that client base, it's tough. So where do you start? Who do you go to? And that's really where we come in. We are Powerhouse Courses and Payday Loan University. What we've been doing so far, we've been putting this together, myself and Jerry Els. We've been working on advanced programs for people that have been in the business for a long time. And he had written a book. It's called the Payday Loan Bible, and he wrote it a long time ago. He's been updating it. But it's a good way to get people started. It's been a binder, and we've been doing boot camps and stuff. But I want to expand our resources to be able to reach out to people saying, look, we don't want you to lose your butt. And do not be cheap buying information. If someone says to you, I'm going to let you sit in my store for $1,000 for half a day, you do it. Whatever you can get your hands on, whatever information or resource or experience you can get your hands on, you do it, because it will absolutely pay off 1,000 times. I've been there. I've made the mistakes. I've lost tens and tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and just one little change can make such a difference in your entire operation and in your own bottom line. So absolutely, our commitment is to create some more resources for people that are starting out, to give them intelligent information, intelligent ideas, and stuff that works. I mean, let's talk seriously. We need this stuff to work. We're not in business to lose money, and well, no more than we have to, but that's what we're looking for. So let's talk about this, and let's say, okay, we want to have an outstanding business. We want to help people get started and avoid some pitfalls. Don't be afraid, but be a little afraid. Think of it like riding a motorcycle through a seniors community. It looks really peaceful, but you got to keep your eyes open. All right? I hope you have a great day, and I hope I was helpful with you today.